Over the past few days, I've been trying to break down ways that modern producers manage their audio field. But before we get into it, we need to break down the 5 different categories that we can divide this into. First one, mono. Create for elements that drive the track and provide the punch. Example, kick, snare, and sub bass. Number 2, monopand. Great for placing elements and easier to locate by the listener. Example, rim shots and perks. Number 3, wide center. Great for centric leads and primary sounds. Example, lead vocals and lead synths. Number 4, wideband. Great for placing secondary sounds in a busy mix. Example, shakers and secondary snares. Number 5, super wide. Great for background sounds that fills the stereo field. Example, pads and ambiances. So now we know the different audio fields. Now let's go into looking at how to make things mono. So if you have a bass line, for example, you want this to punch through the mix and you want to keep it in the middle. You want to go down to the stereo separation and turn it all the way to the right. This will merge the left and right channels and make it mono. Another technique that you could use is open up the patcher, go to presets, and select the mid side. And once you have this open, you want to go to the side patch and you want to turn that volume all the way down. What this will do is it will cancel out all the side information, and whatever information will be coming out will be mono. You can create a monopanned stereo image simply by getting a mono sound like these closed hats and panning them either left or right by about 20 to 30%. This will send that signal towards one side of the system. Let's take a look at the wide center. So typically you would use this on sounds that you want to be in the middle of the mix, but you want them to be a little bit more upfront. So on a vocal, all that you have to do is grab a reverb, grab the stereo separation knob, and turn it towards 9 o'clock. This will just allow some imaging and some stereo separation to happen within the mix, but keeping that vocal in the center. Another way that we can use this is on leads. If you open up the patch, you just got to add a couple more voices and introduce some detuning. This will spread out the lead in the stereo field, as you can see it happening here. The more detune I have, the more the sound starts to spread out into the stereo field. To obtain the wideband feel, all you have to do is take a sound that is already stereoized like these shakers and pan them either to the right or the left by 20 to 40%. This will take the stereo signal and send it either right or left, spreading it out into the stereo field. On the other hand, if you have a signal that is stereoized and you want to spread it out even more than what it already is, all you have to do is open up the Fruity Shaper, go to presets, and find stereoize 1, 2, or 3. They will look something like this. This will send the signal left and right into the speakers and into the stereo field even more than what it already is. When going for that super wide sound on pads and ambiances, it's a few more steps. All you have to do is combine the unison with reverb and a chorus. So this can be done in the plugin itself, or you can just add it straight onto your channel rack. This is where things might get a little tricky for some people, but the audio field is spread up into different categories. You have stereo, left, right, mid, side, and mono. Stereo is everything combined. Left is everything coming from the left speaker. Right is everything coming from the right speaker. Mid is everything that is common between the left and the right speaker. And side is everything that is not common in the left and the right speaker. Now that we know this, let's take a look at our master chain so we can get a better sounding stereo field. So if we open up Ozone, we can go to the imager and we can pull up these bands. These bands will split the stereo fields into their different sections and you can manage them. So let's take a look at the low end. So originally with the low end, what you want to do is you want to grab anywhere between 150 to 200 and you want to drag this band 1 all the way down. Reason being is because the low end tends to phase, and phase cancellation is extremely bad, especially when your tracks are being played at a club or at a festival. Secondly, the mid lows. This is the section where a lot of your low end tends to bleed out into the higher frequencies. So you kind of want to drag this a little bit down, more or less around 27 to about 30. Next up is the high mids. Let's take a listen. Instantly what you want to do in the high mid area, it's because your lead vocals and your lead synths are going to be sitting more or less around this area. You're going to want to try and bump it up anywhere between 20 to 30. This will just spread out that stereo field a little bit more and just make your track a little bit more stereo. Lastly, the highs. Now this one is dependent on track to track. Depending on how much hi-hats, how much shakers, and how much your leads are coming through the track, you might want to bump it up a little bit more than usual. I normally stick to around 35 to 60 in this area, depending on the track, but if my track is a little bit too stereo, I might just pull it down slightly. Why is this important for music production? It's because stereo spread is a very good way to get your track to sound a little bit louder than what it is, and for your track to add a little bit more presence. So this is one way that you can make your track sound 1% better.